on the island of Crete, where the air smelled of salt and warm stone, and the evening light fell softly upon the waves, there stood the palace of King Minos. The palace was vast, larger than anyone could imagine. Courtyards stretched wide, stone columns rose toward the sky, and the echo of servants' footsteps drifted slowly across the marble, softly, as if the stone itself wished to tell stories of ancient times. Birds rested on fountains, in the crowns of olive trees, and in the shade of arcades. Their song blended with the sound of the sea, with the quiet whisper of the wind, with the gentle rustle of leaves moved by a soft breeze. At the very heart of the palace, there was a garden. Olive trees grew in even rows, their leaves falling slowly, lightly, as if time itself slowed in that place. Water in the fountains murmured quietly. Streams glided over marble edges, and the air carried the scent of citrus flowers, herbs, and sea salt. Every stone in the palace seemed to speak with its own voice, telling stories of generations long gone. The columns held the echo of Minos's children's laughter, and that laughter blended with the silence of the corridors. Servants moved quietly, the rustle of their garments soft, almost invisible, and every step echoed through the chambers, creating a rhythm, calm, slow, like breathing. Minos often walked onto the palace terraces and gazed at the sea, at the setting sun, at the sound of the waves, at the air heavy with salt, and in those moments he felt the weight of responsibility, the weight of power, the weight of the story yet to come. In the garden, time seemed to stand still. Leaves fell more slowly than anywhere else. The air pulsed with the scent of flowers. The shadows of olive trees drifted across marble paths, and everything was quiet, almost indistinct, as if the world itself paused for a moment to make space for a story that was about to begin. But beneath that calm, beneath the light and the scent of flowers, beneath the shadows of olives and columns, there was a secret, older than the palace walls, heavier than the marble from which it was built. It was a secret that would change the fate of the island, a story that would touch everyone who dared enter the labyrinth. The silence in the garden was deep, sometimes broken only by the rustle of leaves, the whisper of wind, sometimes by the distant cry of a bird. And yet within that silence, something waited, a quiet anticipation of what was to come, as if the earth itself held its breath before the birth of a being who would fill the labyrinth with his own. Queen Pasiphae, wife of Minos, was a woman both wise and gentle. Her eyes were soft, her gaze full of care, her voice quiet like the evening sea, fading slowly between the columns, leaving echoes in marble. Sometimes she looked toward the sea, where sunlight shimmered on the waves like burning gold, and thought of the gods, who touched human lives in ways no one could understand, and how fate was a burden that could never be set aside. One day, from the depths of the sea, a gift emerged from Poseidon, a white bull. It was no ordinary creature. Its body shone in the sun like light upon sea foam. Its eyes were clear, almost transparent, as if they could see not only people, but their souls. It was a sign, a gift, a promise from the gods. Minos was meant to sacrifice it, to prove his loyalty. But when he saw the animal, his heart froze in awe. No, I cannot give it away. And so he kept the bull, not knowing that in that simple choice, something irreversible had begun. Pasiphae looked upon the bull with wonder and unease. Her heart felt something strange, something she could not name. And then the gods began to act, slowly, quietly, inevitably. And in Pasiphae's heart, a feeling appeared, foreign, incomprehensible, impossible to resist. From that feeling, from that error of humans and the will of the gods, a child was born, not fully human, not fully animal, the body of a boy, and the head of a bull, with eyes filled with wildness and sorrow. Thus the Minotaur was born. The Minotaur, when he was first born, the world was new and unfamiliar to him. His body was powerful, yet uneven, the arms and torso of a man, and the head of a bull, his eyes filled with wildness and sadness, gazing at a world he did not yet understand. Pasiphae looked at the child. Her heart trembled, wonder mixed with fear. Can one love something that cannot be named, something not fully human, yet alive, breathing, feeling? Minos stood still, looking upon the child who was the result of his own mistake and the anger of the gods. He did not know how to show him to the world, but he knew one thing: the child could not die. So instead of ordering death, he summoned a builder. And so began the story of the labyrinth. The Minotaur first felt the silence and echo of the labyrinth, though he did not yet know it would become his home. His first breaths were heavy, slow, his mother's breath mingling with the scent of marble and fresh garden air. Every rustle of leaves, every ray of sunlight falling through a window was new, unfamiliar. He felt life, though he did not yet understand the world. Minos watched the child closely. His eyes followed every movement, every breath, but his heart grew heavy. This was not something he could show to the world, not something that could live among people. Man or beast? The question would not leave him, and so a decision slowly took shape, not to kill, but to hide, to protect, but separate from the world. Greatest builder of his time was summoned, a master whose hands could shape stone, as if the stone itself obeyed his thoughts. He built corridors that twisted endlessly, rooms that led nowhere, stairs that rose and fell without reason, a place that was not quite a prison and not quite a home. The labyrinth. The Minotaur grew within it, slowly, very slowly. The labyrinth became his world. Every wall, every turn, every shadow became familiar, like his own breath. Light entered only through narrow cracks, forming thin beams that moved slowly across the walls. So slowly, it felt as if time itself had stopped. He watched them, learning the rhythm of light, of shadow, of silence. Days passed, quietly, repeatedly. He walked the corridors, rested in empty chambers, listened, always listened, to echoes, to silence, to himself. Sometimes he heard distant sounds, a bird, the wind, perhaps even the sea, and something stirred within him, a feeling he did not understand: loneliness. At first, food was brought to him by the servants of Minos, meat, fruit, left quietly upon the cold stone floor. The Minotaur did not question it. He did not understand hunger as something separate from the world. It simply was. But over time, something changed. Far beyond Crete, in the city of Athens, a shadow began to fall over its people. As punishment for an old crime, for blood once spilled, a tribute was demanded. Every few years, 7 young men and 7 young women were sent across the sea. Sent not as travelers, not as guests, but as an offering. they arrived in silence, fear hidden in their eyes, their footsteps uncertain upon the stone of a foreign land. They were led, slowly, inevitably, toward the labyrinth. The Minotaur did not understand who they were. He did not know their names, their lives, their dreams. He only knew the echo of their footsteps, the trembling in the air, the presence of something living, and hunger. A hunger that came, not with cruelty, but with inevitability. And so, one by one, they disappeared into the silence of the labyrinth, never to return. And the labyrinth kept their echoes. Until one day, a young prince arrived on the island. Theseus, calm, brave, determined. He looked upon the palace of Minos and knew that something awaited him, something that would change everything. There, in the palace, he met Ariadne, daughter of Minos. Their first meeting was quiet, in the shade of marble columns. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time slowed. The air grew heavy, filled with something unspoken, a feeling, soft, warm, undeniable. They spoke slowly, carefully. Every word carried meaning, every glance deeper than words. Ariadne felt it first, that Theseus was not like the others, that his presence meant something more, hope. Theseus felt it too, calmness, trust. In her eyes, he found something he had not known he was searching for. And then, she gave him a thread, simple, delicate, yet within it was everything. A path, a promise, a way back. Their hands touched, briefly, and in that moment, a bond was formed, quiet, unspoken, but real. Theseus stood at the entrance of the labyrinth, the thread in his hand, light as a whisper. He stepped inside, slowly, step by step. The air was heavy, cool. Echoes surrounded him, multiplying each sound, as if the labyrinth itself was watching. He unwound the thread behind him, carefully, steadily, a thin line, guiding him through darkness. The walls were cold, sometimes smooth, sometimes rough. Every corner held shadow. Every shadow held silence. And in that silence, he heard only his breath, slow, deep. The Minotaur felt him, not with sight, not with sound, but with something older, something deeper. He moved, slowly, heavily. His breath echoed through the labyrinth, and at last they stood before each other, man and a being born of gods and error. For a moment, they did not move. They simply existed, in the same silence. Then the Minotaur stepped forward, and the dance began. It was not chaos. It was rhythm, movement, pause, breath, silence. Theseus moved carefully, watching, listening. Every motion mattered, until, at the right moment, he struck. The Minotaur stopped. His breath slowed, slower and slower, until he fell quietly, like sleep. Labyrinth fell silent. No footsteps, no breath, only stillness. Theseus turned, followed the thread, step by step, back toward the light, and the Minotaur remained, not as a monster, but as a story of solitude, of fate, of a life never chosen. And when night falls over Crete and the wind moves softly through the olive trees, sometimes it feels as though, deep beneath the earth, a slow, quiet breath can still be heard. Close your eyes and let the story fade softly, gently into sleep.